This is 414 Footy with Sebastian Becerra and Jack Goods. Hello and welcome to the first episode of our Milwaukee Soccer podcast, where today we'll be catching you up to speed with where we currently stand with the Milwaukee Pro Soccer team. It's been kind of a strange journey, not always fully linear, but it seems like we're moving in the right direction as Milwaukee inches closer to the start of its new team, set to play in the second tier of American soccer starting in 2026. But first, you're probably wondering who we are. I'll start off by kicking things over to my co-host, Sebastian Becerra. Sebastian, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
Do you want to start off with a little bit of an intro of who you are and why people should be listening to us?
Absolutely. I'm Sebastian, originally from Dallas, Texas. I've been in Milwaukee, though, for 12 years now. Went to school at Marquette, Marquette alum. Why we're here is we've been tracking the Milwaukee soccer team as of the last 2 years now, since they initially announced that they were going to bring a professional soccer team to Milwaukee. We've been kind of following the news, tracking it, and wanted to start a podcast to just talk about the team and really the Milwaukee soccer scene as a whole, as, of course, we gear up for 2026, when I might be jumping the gun here, but when this team is allegedly going to start playing for the United Soccer League.
I don't think we can go through this intro without you talking a little bit about your own soccer background.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I played soccer all the way through high school. College came around and I decided to hang it up. I realized the competition was getting pretty heavy, but always been a soccer fan, very passionate. I spent a year in Madrid, Spain. I was for 4 months there. I was covering the Real Madrid soccer team, which was an incredible experience. I was doing it for Real Madrid TV, so that was really neat. I also spent a stint at FC Dallas doing some media relations for them in Frisco, Texas. And interviewing players, talking to players and coaches, getting their inside scoop on games and practices. And so I have quite a bit of experience both as a fan and also covering certain teams. Definitely have a passion for it and excited to bring that passion here to Milwaukee.
And I'm Jack Goods, and I am more of the soccer novice of the two of us here, but I do have some experience covering it. I am also a Marquette graduate. I'm now working there as a communication specialist, which has brought me back to Milwaukee. But I spent 4 years as a full-time sports journalist, first in Buffalo, New York, then in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I covered the Marquette soccer team. Well, I was a college reporter at the Marquette Wire and got some opportunities when I was in Eau Claire to cover soccer at the high school level. But I've found myself becoming more and more interested in soccer and its growth here in the U.S. And in learning more about the sport. And when Milwaukee was announced as a USL expansion franchise, I thought it was a great opportunity for me to further invest. I've been blessed with also Buffalo now being added as a USL expansion team too, to further add to my interest, and just a sport that's, I think, different than any other, with its just tremendous reach in countries of all different shapes and sizes. I mean, it's the world's game for a reason because of how accessible it is, and we're seeing just an incredibly interesting, I think, inflection point for soccer in the United States.
Absolutely. It is the beautiful game. But yeah, we are at a pretty interesting point for the United Soccer League, but also for soccer in America, as we have, the MLS, we have the USL, and some announcements that we're going to get to. But it seems like there's a growing passion for soccer and the fan bases here, as an established sport.
We've seen that momentum that you talked about mirrored here in Milwaukee, and that's a big reason why they did announce this USL expansion team. Wow, it feels like a long time ago now, October 19th, 2022, and it really was a culmination of an incredible amount of soccer momentum in the city. It's obviously, like you hinted at, pro soccer is not completely unfamiliar thing for Milwaukee folks. You talk about the Milwaukee Wave Been here since 1989. It's I believe, the longest, if not one of the longest, continuously operating soccer teams in all of the United States. We've seen an incredible amount of soccer bars become tremendously popular. Nomad, Three Lions, Red Lions, Highbury. There's a lot of options now. In 2023, right around when this was getting off the ground, we saw that Milwaukee was one of the best markets in the country for the Women's World Cup.
Yeah, there were stats to back it up. Viewership was through the roof here in Milwaukee as far as the Women's World Cup in 2023 when they were competing. Just to get an idea of the market for soccer in Milwaukee, which was shocking to me because of this stigma, I guess, that Milwaukee is a small market when it's really a medium market, but it doesn't always get thought about as a major market for sports and activity in the United States, especially when we got our big brother Chicago just down the road here on 994. But let's get into this, Jack. Let's talk about kind of where we stand. We've kind of teased it a little bit, but where we stand here with the Milwaukee Pro Soccer team and its development.
Yeah, it's funny because there's a lot that has happened since that date, and in some ways there is not a lot that has happened since that date, which has caused some frustration, which I'm sure we will be touching on over the next year when hopefully we can then start talking about the team actually playing. I think the first big media moment, at least for this franchise, came when Milwaukee Pro Soccer announced its 64-team bracket for its name. At that point, we obviously knew that the team was coming here. We knew what the USL was. They announced the gorgeous renderings for the Iron District, their 8,000-seat stadium set to be built right near the Marquette Interchange.
Boy, those look good. The renderings always look good, don't they?
It looks awesome. I really hope that the final product resembles that because it will revolutionize an area of the city that is pretty dead right now. I mean, that area is a field, and I think it could be awesome for what it means connecting that stretch all the way down to Pfizer. If it really unlocks something in the city, in my opinion, it's exciting to know you have a team. I think there's something different when there's a name. There's that brand to connect to. You really can start building out a fan base.
Yeah, so let's talk about that just really quickly for folks that don't know what's going on. So there is a team that was announced 3 years ago, and when they were announced as coming to Milwaukee to have a professional soccer team in the United Soccer League, which is the championship, is the second division of pro soccer in the United States. So it is a big deal. The team itself put out this 64 bracket entry basically for all fans to pitch in what they wanted the team name to be. And that's when we realized, oh, wow, this is a real thing that's happening. We can all participate in naming the team, which is at the time I was thrilled. This was a great way to engage soccer fans in Milwaukee.
And I submitted a name, Milwaukee Hops. Didn't make it far, but I still think it's a good idea. I think it would have been a cool crest with the image of the hops that you see at a lot of breweries' logos.
I do like that. I do like that more and more now. We can get to the final names there, but I'm more of a traditionalist. I just wanted Milwaukee FC because that's what other teams do that we see here in the U.S., both MLS, Sporting KC, FC Dallas. Now we still need a mascot, right? We still need some kind of tie to Milwaukee other than just the name Milwaukee.
Yeah, I get that reasoning. I'm a little bit more fond of the unique names that sound sort of soccer-y. Your Seattle Sounders, Portland Timbers. A great example of this is actually Forward Madison, which some of the ownership group for Milwaukee is also owners of. They came up with this unique name with a unique brand and unique colors. Go with pink and blue and flamingo that has a tie to Madison that we can talk about, I'm sure, in upcoming episodes. But what were the final 10 names that Milwaukee Pro Soccer gave us?
So the final 10 names, if you weren't here, and if you haven't been here, if you haven't been paying attention to Milwaukee soccer, we got the Milwaukee Tall Boys, the Milwaukee Barons, Goodland, Milwaukee Brigade, Lake Effect, Fresh Coast, Milwaukee Iron, Cream City, 1846 Milwaukee, which was, I'm assuming, when the city was founded, and then the Milwaukee Industrial. Now, these are the 10 names that made the final list, and of those 10 names, it was now up to the Milwaukee Pro Soccer franchise, their execs, to pick a name.
They did take feedback from people from these top 10. The ultimate decision will rest in the hands of the ownership. I think there really only are two realistic options here. I think it's going to be one of Cream City.
Is that best case for you?
Probably. I don't love it, but I do think it's the most realistic best case scenario. The Milwaukee Tall Boys is the people's champ here. People love this name. People have created jerseys for this that are really great. I don't know if you've seen those.
Yeah. There've been a lot of jerseys created by just fans, which goes back to the aspect here of the buy-in. There is a lot of buy-in from the fan bases, people that follow soccer in Milwaukee, even just casuals that are hopping on board and creating jersey renderings for these different team names, which is awesome to see. I love the how it ties into the drinking culture in Milwaukee, the breweries, which there's a ton. If locals will know, there's a million breweries to choose from any given Saturday, and that's what you want in a name, is something that really accentuates the culture of the city.
Yeah, I'd say maybe one criticism people would have for this name is that you don't really have to be tall to play soccer. This might make more sense for a basketball team.
Well, when you think about it literally like that, sure, but
do you have a favorite of this group?
My initial thought was Goodland would be fun, but that doesn't really sound like a soccer team.
I do also wonder if one of these that has lake effect. I feel like something Milwaukee has to be here, and Goodland. I feel like Cream City might be a little better known as Milwaukee than something like Goodland would be.
Yeah. It just came to me like, oh, Goodland, that's kind of cool. But the one that really stuck out was Milwaukee Iron. And because they're naming the stadium and the area around the stadium the Iron District, so I think that would directly tie into the history of Milwaukee, but also into the area. And let's go watch an Iron game.
And we would fit it the Deer District is where the Bucks play.
And then the Iron District is where...
They don't have another name here that would be a similar Bucks to Deer. The Iron playing in the Iron District would make sense. But since this is basically the last time we've heard consistently from the team, which is certainly a point of consternation for a lot of the other people who I imagine are going to be our listeners, are the people who are invested in this team, the people who are really excited and want to hear more. The only other major update we've seen since then was finding out that Kramer Krasselt was chosen to develop the brand and name of the club, and that was in October of 2023.
But about a year and a half now.
Yeah, and they've shared a few photos of, I assume, talking through designs of logos, but we have not seen that. And that's basically it. Everything else that we're going to talk about from here on out is from third-party sources. They're legitimate outlets, and the Journal Sentinel has covered this whenever there has been something to cover. But we have not heard anything from the actual team on social, but really at all, since May 12th, 2024, when they wished all moms out there a happy Mother's Day.
Well... Happy Mother's Day to all moms. Absolutely. But that goes to show there's been some sporadic social media posts, not really any updates, right? Around holidays or going to a Bucks game. But it goes to your point. There's been some frustration, and not just amongst us, but amongst other fans. The Milwaukee Pro Soccer Reddit page has been pretty active and sharing their frustration. Even people commenting on old social media posts from the Milwaukee Pro Soccer pages, both on Instagram and Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter, just being like, hey, what's going on? When's the team name going to be announced? When are they going to start playing? There is a sense of frustration, and it all goes to, I guess, the crux of the issue, which we've discussed off the pod, but funding for the team.
Yeah, I think a lot of it came down to funding and not being entirely sure if that was all lined up. And I think it's been pretty obvious that it was not. There was a point where Governor Tony Evers had to step in for some public funding. It was $9.3 million in funds from the Federal American Rescue Plan. They had to replace funding Republican legislators removed from Evers' original budget, so that was delayed.
Politics, man. Yeah.
As this is all happening, this is not coming out on a day-by-day basis. Yeah. People are waiting and seeing the site where the Iron District is set to be built sit there for long periods of time. And every day, I think there was more and more concern. This was originally set to launch in 2025. Obviously, that has not happened. It was pushed to 2026. But through all of this, COO of Forward Madison and now Milwaukee Pro Soccer has said in interviews with Madison media that this team is still full steam ahead, and the USL has echoed that.
It's been a bit somber the last couple minutes. We do have some news, again, not from the official Milwaukee Soccer pages or outlets, but from, I think the Journal Sentinel covered this. There is a plan to start building the stadium this summer of 2025 for it to be ready by March of 2026 when the new team is expected to start playing in the USL Championship. So that's exciting, but based on what we've seen and experienced the last few years, there's a sense of, will this actually happen in the right time frame?
Yeah, this has been pitched, this latest update, as one of the last, if not the last, major hurdle to get past for construction to begin. The Iron District site was sold to MDC Iron District LLC, which is an affiliate of Milwaukee Development Corp. That sale was completed and reported on pretty extensively in multiple Milwaukee outlets in late February. And they say the plan is to still launch the team in 2026.
Bold.
Yeah, we're talking about a less than 12-month timeline for a stadium that looks very nice, looks complicated to build. This is not, there have been other USL teams that have come in and pitched more module stadiums that are a little more flexible in what they look like when they launch and cheaper.
This looks like a state-of-the-art arena. And it's not just for soccer. This is going to be a multi-purpose sporting and events stadium, 8,000-seat stadium. It's going to be used for the Milwaukee Pro Soccer team as well as Marquette Athletics, Marquette men's and women's soccer and their lacrosse teams too. So this is going to be a massive project that they are saying will be complete in less than a year from when they're starting to build this stadium. We'll see. But my goodness, do I want to keep track of this? Because me and you both want this stadium to be done and want the Milwaukee Pro Soccer team to start playing next March. But they start playing in early March of next year. That is less than a year away. And from when they're starting to build the stadium, that's going to be less than 8 months away.
Yeah, I mean, I worry one of three things will be what happens here is that either one, the stadium doesn't look quite like what we think it will. They'll have to cut some corners in the design process. That might also be funding related and not necessarily timeline related. My second worry is that they just don't start playing at the stadium. Worry might be too strong, but this is like a second option.
Yeah, bullet point number 2 is they start playing somewhere else, whether it's the Valley, where the Marquette soccer teams play now, near Potawatomi, or whether it's at Hart Park, where the Milwaukee Torrent play. There's options, not a lot of options for outdoor soccer play, but there's a few options.
Or they end up playing later, and that could mean one of two things. It could mean the season after, or it could mean they play on the road for a little while at the start of next season.
Or do they play at somebody else's stadium?
Yeah, and they find some other way. We will, I assume, get more details on this.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, to me, this podcast and is really filling some blank air that the team is not producing content for. I've been frustrated with what, I'm now working in marketing, having come from a more journalism background. And what I see is kind of the marketing mishap of this team. There was real momentum when they launched, and they launched with promo materials. They had scarves, they had hats, they had shirts.
They were at Summerfest. They had a tent at Summerfest. They were sharing those materials and talking to fans. So they were at other events as well where they had a presence, and it's been, like you said, silent for almost 2 years now.
You mentioned the subreddit, and yeah, I like search on Twitter every couple of months, maybe sometimes more, to see if anyone said anything to the team accounts. What concerns me is just the serious fans, the people who are really invested, the people who are willing to be in communities talking about this team years before it launches. They're skeptical at this point. Anyone new who comes into that subreddit and asks questions about what's up with this team is met with responses from people saying, I'm not sure it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. There's just skepticism from the people who are supposed to be most bought in, and I don't think that's a great way to start off your team. I'm hoping that can get erased over the next year.
And the hope is it will. And that's part of the problem that you hit on pretty strongly there, is that there has not been follow-up from the team. Fans are eager for this. The community is eager for any news, good or bad, right? I mean, if the news is we're not ready, okay, well then let's sit tight and wait. If the news is it's not going to happen, sorry, okay, well, it's unfortunate. It was cool to experience this, influx of passion and influx of excitement about a potential team, but at least we know now that it fell through for whatever reason it may be. But give us some news. And I think now that we're assuming a year away from this team starting to play, I think the news is going to come quicker, is my prediction. And I hope I'm right, because the quicker the news comes, the more we can talk about it, and the more we can talk about getting excited for this team and what the fans think and what the community thinks. And we've seen that in these message boards and these threads, but we shouldn't have to look to Reddit threads to voice our concerns or to voice our thoughts about the team. It should be, on social media. It should be out and about. It should be at local bars and pubs, and it should be the talk of the town. So I feel like that energy can be restored and revived. And that's part of the reason why we started this podcast as well.
Yeah, there is a track record with this ownership group, which is the same ownership group as Forward Madison, where they launched that team tremendously. And their social media was great then. It's still very strong. So once things get going, I think that we have great momentum with this team. I just hope that happens sooner rather than later. Every day I'm waiting to see, is that going to be the day that we get an update on one of these accounts? Because right now, since the Mother's Day thing on Twitter, on Facebook, we've gotten a little bit more. I think 2 announcements for watch parties, one for the U.S. women's team and one for Forward Madison.
Okay.
And that's it.
So they've had a little presence at some of these events.
Well,
but that was last summer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I jokingly commented on one of them that I was glad to see that the social admin did not lose his password. He can still get in.
Just as a quick recap, the team is planned to start next March playing in the USL Championship, the second division of professional soccer in the United States. The stadium is breaking ground this summer. As to what month or when, we don't know yet. It seems like they've got the funding, and we're excited to be on that journey with them.
Yeah, I know there are a lot of diehard soccer fans who are excited about this and what this means for Milwaukee soccer. And there are a lot of people like me who are a bit newer to this and trying to learn, especially, the USL is obviously a bit more niche than you would get as an MLS fan. So I see this as like a fun year of learning as we prepare ourselves to be the ultimate fans for when this team launches. That first game, I can, you get chills already thinking about what it's going to be like in there.
Whenever I approached the marketing team, some of the people that were working with the Milwaukee Pro Soccer team at one of the events they had at Summerfest a couple years ago, I was like, hey, so when can I get season tickets? This was like, I think in 2023. And they're like, oh, we're not currently, doing that because it was just too early. So I'm excited and you're excited and we're excited to just see what comes of this because it's a really exciting time. And not just for Milwaukee soccer, as we've talked about, but we're gearing up to host the World Cup. And you talked about being, learning and educating yourself on soccer in America, soccer in Milwaukee. You're like a bunch of other fans as well. You're an ice hockey fan, lacrosse fan. We have football fans, basketball fans, baseball fans. Well, the U.S. is playing in the World Cup in 2026 as a host nation. We're all going to be soccer fans next year.
We've seen it already with the popularity of the Euros. I think we've seen soccer have the Gold Cup. Soccer's been having a moment for the last few years. Messi just being here means a lot.
He brings so much eyes and viewership, and what he's done for the game in general on a world stage is just indescribable. And then bringing that to the U.S., he chose to go to Miami. He's never had any transfer fees associated. That's the crazy part about Lionel Messi. He's never been sold. He's always left on a free transfer everywhere he's gone. He's chosen the destinations for the most part. Obviously, in Paris, it was a bit complicated and a tough situation for him. But coming to Inter Miami FC, Miami's a big Latin American culture. He feels at home, and he's exploded the game so much in the U.S. Even if it is the MLS, it's still got more eyes on it. Every game is must-watch TV. And that's what it's going to be in 2026 in the U.S. with the World Cup. It's going to be must-watch TV. And it coincides perfectly for when this Milwaukee Pro Soccer team is going to be launched.
Yeah, not to sound like a broken record, but all of this momentum is why I've been a little frustrated that we haven't heard anything when all these exciting things are happening and people are ready to talk about soccer. But we'll be talking about it. So it's all good.
And join the conversation.
We hope you subscribe and follow along on this journey with us as we inch closer and closer to that first kickoff.